I tricked my girlfriend into a pregnancy surprise. And the second the words fully formed in my head, I realized how messed up they sounded for something that was supposed to be the happiest moment of our lives. I was standing in the kitchen, holding a white plastic stick with two pink lines that felt heavier than any secret I'd ever carried, while my phone sat propped up against the microwave, already recording, its little red light staring back at me like an accusation. I told myself this was going to be a cute, emotional moment, the kind of thing couples post online and people comment, "relationship goals," under. But underneath that glossy fantasy was the ugly truth. I had been the one pushing for this baby when she wasn't ready, and now I was about to surprise her with a reality even I wasn't sure I wanted. My name is Daniel. I'm 28, and my girlfriend's name is Leah. We've been together for 4 years, living in a small, one-bedroom apartment with peeling paint and a view of a parking lot that somehow still feels like home. From the outside, we look like every other couple in this building, sharing bills, ordering takeout too often, arguing over who forgot to switch the laundry to the dryer. But there's something about us that has always felt fragile. Like one sharp truth could shatter everything we've built. Maybe that's why when the idea of having a baby first came up, it felt less like a dream and more like a test we were both afraid to fail. When we first started dating, Leah was very clear. I don't want kids. Not now. Maybe not ever. She said it on our third date, over greasy fries and watery beer at a bar that smelled like spilled tequila and desperation. I remember nodding, trying to act chill, like it wasn't a big deal. At 24, someday, feels like a million years away. I told her I didn't know what I wanted yet, which was true at the time. What I didn't admit was that I'd grown up watching my parents quietly orbit around the absence of a third chair at the dinner table. My mother had wanted more kids, my father didn't, and that unspoken resentment turned every birthday and holiday into a kind of mourning for a child who never existed. I swore that I'd never build a life around that kind of silence. Leah's reasons were different. She'd grown up with too many siblings and not enough stability. Her mom left when she was 10, her dad worked 2 jobs and drank through weekends, and her teenage years were one long loop of babysitting and heating frozen dinners while everyone else got to be kids. I already raised children, she'd say, half joking, half bitter. I'm done. The first time she said it to me, I reached across the table and squeezed her hand, promising I would never push her into anything she didn't want. I meant it when I said it, or at least, I thought I did. But somewhere around year 2, things started to shift. Not in some dramatic epiphany, but in small, subtle moments that stitched themselves into a quiet longing I couldn't ignore. Watching her melt when a toddler handed her a crumpled dandelion at the park, the way she lingered a second too long in the baby aisle when we were buying shampoo, running her fingers over a tiny pair of socks before quickly putting them back. The way she smiled at our neighbor's little girl in the hallway, how the kid called her Miss Leah and reached for her with sticky hands. Those moments dug their way into me. A mix of warmth and ache. I started imagining what our kid would look like. Her eyes, my nervous laugh, her stubbornness, my tendency to overthink everything. I pictured Saturday mornings with cartoons and cereal, the smell of pancakes and spilled syrup, the sound of tiny feet slapping against the floor. I pictured us at school plays, at doctor appointments, at birthdays where we sang off-key. It wasn't just a fantasy anymore. It felt like a missing piece I could almost touch if I reached far enough. Whenever I tried to bring it up, though, Leah shut down. Not with anger, just with that quiet, closed-off calm that scares me more than yelling. I thought we agreed, she'd say, her eyes going distant. I'm not built for that. I don't want to ruin some kid's life the way mine felt ruined. Then she'd change the subject to work, to bills, to some drama with her sister, and the conversation would evaporate, leaving behind a residue I carried alone. That's where the first betrayal happened. Even if I didn't call it that at the time, I stopped being fully honest about what I wanted. I said things like, "It's fine, we don't have to decide now," and "I'm happy as long as I'm with you," which was partly true, but not entirely. I started keeping a private list in my phone of baby names I liked, then hiding the note in a folder named Taxes. I found myself pausing on videos of pregnancy announcements, watching men cry, and women scream, and families gather around, clapping and cheering. I told myself I was just emotional, just soft. I didn't admit even to myself that I was feeding a hunger my girlfriend didn't share. The second betrayal was quieter, but worse. It started the night we had our biggest fight. We were in bed, the glow from the streetlights painting orange stripes across the ceiling. Leah had just told me she might get a promotion at work that would mean longer hours, more travel, more responsibility, which is exactly why kids aren't in the plan, she'd said, half laughing, rolling onto her side. I don't know what snapped in me, but suddenly everything I'd been holding back flooded out. I told her I was tired of pretending I didn't care, that it felt like my future had been decided without my consent. I told her I felt like a support character in her life rather than a partner in building something together. The words came out sharper than I intended, and as soon as I said them, I saw her face go pale. "So what?" she asked quietly. "You want to leave? Find someone who wants to give you a baby?" "That's not what I'm saying," I protested, but the damage was done. We spent the next hour circling the same arguments. She talked about freedom. I talked about legacy. She mentioned her childhood scars. I mentioned my parents' regret. At one point, she whispered, "I'd be a terrible mother." And I snapped back, "You'd be an amazing one if you stopped being so afraid." And I knew, even as I said it, that I'd gone too far. She cried that night, turning away from me, her shoulders shaking silently. I reached for her, but she flinched. Finally, she said, "If you want a different life, you should go. I won't hate you for it. But I can't be pressured into becoming someone I'm not." I should have listened. I should have stepped back and dealt with my own expectations. Instead, I did the worst thing. I said, "No. No. Forget I said anything. You're right. I'm sorry. I'll drop it." And I did drop it. Out loud. Inside, it just went deeper underground. The third betrayal, the one I can't dress up or excuse, came months later, in small choices that I told myself were accidents or compromises. We'd always been careful, responsible. She handled her birth control. I used condoms when she asked. We were that couple that joked about bulletproof, double protection. But after that fight, I caught myself making tiny, calculated mistakes. Not dramatic ones. Nothing obvious enough to point at, just loosened edges. Not bringing up it when she forgot a pill. Being a little less careful with timing. Convincing myself it was fate, not design. I didn't poke holes in anything. I didn't switch her pills. I need to say that, even if it doesn't make what I did okay. But I absolutely pushed the odds, and then pretended I hadn't. I told myself that if it happened, it would be meant to be. That if the universe wanted us to be parents, it would override her fear, and my cowardice, and just make it so. That's the story I told myself to avoid calling it what it was. Manipulation through omission. The day I realized she might be pregnant didn't feel magical. It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, realizing you'd been walking toward it with your eyes closed. Leah had been tired for days, falling asleep on the couch between episodes of whatever show we were half watching. She complained about her stomach, about feeling weirdly bloated. Then one morning she ran to the bathroom and threw up, her hair falling forward, her knees hitting the cold tile. I followed her, rubbing her back as she cursed the takeout we'd had the night before. "You think it's food poisoning?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual while my heart beat so loud I could hear it. "Maybe," she groaned. "Or maybe my body just hates me today. Can you grab me some water?" I did. And when I came back, she was sitting against the tub, cheeks pale, eyes half closed. She looked so small, wrapped in one of my hoodies. I handed her the glass, and when she took it, my gaze dropped, almost automatically, to the trash can beside the toilet. No test there. No evidence. Just tissues and an empty toothpaste box. "Hey," I said carefully, sitting across from her. "When was your last period?" She frowned, thinking, "I don't know. A couple weeks ago? A couple or more than a couple?" "Why?" Her eyes snapped open, sharp now. "Don't start. I'm not starting anything," I lied. "I'm just asking." She stared at me for a long second, then glanced at the calendar on her phone. I watched the tiny movement of her throat as she swallowed. "But it's been irregular before. I'm stressed. It happens. You should take a test," I said. "I will if it doesn't come by next week." She replied quickly, shutting it down. "I don't want to spiral. I have too much to do," but I was already spiraling for both of us. The next day, while she was at work, I went to the pharmacy and bought a test. I told myself I was just being prepared, just in case she changed her mind and wanted one. But when I got home, I put it in the drawer under the sink and felt this itch in my brain that wouldn't go away. What if she never took it? What if she stayed in denial until it was too late to make any choices at all? What if this was the universe giving me exactly what I'd been craving, and I just stood there and watched it slip away? That night, she came home exhausted and went straight to shower. I heard the water running, heard her humming under her breath, and I don't know what came over me. I walked into the bathroom under the excuse of grabbing my razor, saw the drawer slightly open where I'd hidden the test, and before I knew it, the box was in my hand. I stared at it, fingers trembling, then looked at the shower curtain. "Leah?" I called. "Yeah," she answered over the water. "Just hot. Feels good." The rational thing to do would have been to ask her to take it. To say, "Hey, I bought a test. Maybe we should just rip the Band-Aid off." Instead, I did something that even now makes my stomach turn to remember. I waited until she turned off the water and heard the shower curtain slide. Then I panicked, shoved the box back into the drawer, and ran out, heart pounding. When she came to bed later, her hair damp and smelling like coconut, she curled up beside me and fell asleep almost immediately. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, feeling that drawer under the sink like it was a loaded gun in the house. 2 days later, I got my answer in the worst way. I came home from work early because my boss sent everyone home after the network crashed. The apartment was quiet, except for a faint sound coming from the bathroom, running water, and what might have been a muffled sob. The door was slightly ajar. I hesitated, then gently pushed it open. Leah was sitting on the floor in front of the sink, wearing one of my old t-shirts, her knees pulled up to her chest. In her hand was the test I had bought. The white plastic turned toward her like it was mocking her. I could see the 2 unmistakable pink lines, even from where I stood. She didn't notice me at first. She was whispering something, over and over. It took me a second to realize it was, "No, no, 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 Leah," I said softly. She jerked her head up, eyes wide and wet. For a second, the look on her face killed me. It wasn't just fear. It was betrayal. Like she'd been ambushed by her own body. "What are you doing home?" she asked, voice hoarse. "System crash," I said automatically, stepping inside. "Everyone got sent home early." My gaze dropped to the test again. My chest squeezed. I should have been careful in that moment. Gentle. Slow. Instead, something desperate and selfish rushed out of me. "You're pregnant," I breathed, like I'd just been handed a miracle. Leah flinched at the word like it was a slap. "Don't say it like that," she snapped. "I don't even know if it's real. It could be a false positive. I need to take another one." "It's usually the opposite," I said before I could stop myself. "Daniel, stop," she cut in, her voice cracking. I can't do this right now." She pushed herself up, tossed the test into the trash with more force than necessary, and brushed past me. I caught a glimpse of her in the mirror as she left, eyes red, jaw clenched, her whole body pulled tight like a cable about to snap. She spent the rest of the evening avoiding the topic, moving around the apartment like a ghost. She cooked dinner in silence, pushed her food around her plate, laughed too loudly at a show that wasn't that funny. Every time our eyes met, she looked away first. At one point, I tried again. "We should talk about it," I said gently. "What is there to talk about?" She shot back. "We don't even know if it's real. I'll take another test in a few days. Until then, I'm pretending this didn't happen." And just like that, she built a wall. I went to bed that night with my mind on fire. On one side, there was pure, irrational joy. "There's a baby. There's a chance," the universe answered. On the other side, there was a gnawing guilt. "You pushed for this. You nudged the odds. You didn't listen when she told you who she was." Somewhere in between those truths, a third thought crept in. If I didn't frame this right, if I didn't take control of the narrative, she'd choose fear over possibility. She'd choose the life she thought she deserved instead of the one we could have. That's where the idea of the surprise started. It didn't come to me as some manipulative master plan. It started as a tiny, desperate thought. Maybe if I show her how happy we could be, how loved this baby already is, it'll feel less like a trap and more like a gift. Maybe if I give her a moment big enough, emotional enough, she'll see what I see. I wish I could say I immediately saw the problem with that idea. I didn't. Instead, I grabbed onto it like a lifeline. The next day, while she was at work, I went back to the pharmacy and bought 2 more tests. I also bought a tiny white onesie that said, "Hi, Mommy," in cursive letters, even though my hands shook as I picked it up. I told myself this was going to be a beautiful memory. I filmed a quick clip on my phone in the car, my voice hushed and shaky. "Okay, so, update," I said to the camera. "I think Leah's pregnant. She's freaking out. I'm freaking out. But I'm going to surprise her with the tests and this onesie. And hopefully, it turns into something good." It should have been a red flag that I was already turning this into content, even if it was just for us, or maybe for some future montage we'd watch on our anniversary. I framed it as documenting, not exploiting. But deep down, a small voice whispered that part of me liked the idea of a cinematic moment of being the guy who orchestrated the perfect pregnancy reveal. When I got home, I set everything up. I cleaned the kitchen, lit a couple of candles, and cleared the table. I placed the onesie in a little gift bag we had left over from someone's birthday. Then I taped my phone to the inside of one of the cabinets, with the lens peeking out through a crack, angled just right to capture her face when she opened the bag. It felt sneaky, but I told myself it was romantic, a surprise, a memory. Before she came home, I found myself in the bathroom again, staring into the same trash can where she'd thrown the first test. It was still there, crooked. The 2 pink lines now, a little faded but unmistakable. I picked it up and held it in my hand, feeling like I was holding the moment where our lives had already changed, whether we liked it or not. I could still walk this back, I thought. I could throw away the onesie, untape the phone, sit her down on the couch, and have an honest, terrified conversation, like adults. I could admit I'd been pushing, that I'd been dishonest with myself and with her. I could give her space to decide, instead of trying to script her reaction. Instead, I washed my face, rehearsed my lines in the mirror, and told myself I was doing this for us. When Leah walked through the door that evening, she looked even more exhausted than the night before. Her shoulders sagged under the weight of her bag, and there were faint shadows under her eyes. "Hey," I said, meeting her at the door with what I hoped was a warm smile instead of a manic one. "Rough day? That obvious?" she muttered, kicking off her shoes. She leaned in and gave me a quick kiss, her lips barely brushing mine. My boss piled a ton of last-minute stuff on me. "I'm dead." "I made dinner," I said. "And I got you something." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "What did you do?" I forced a laugh. "Just go sit at the table. Trust me. Trust me." She groaned but obediently walked to the kitchen, dropping her bag on the floor. When she saw the candles and the little gift bag sitting in the center of the table, she froze. "Daniel," she said slowly. "What is this?" "Just sit," I urged, my heart hammering. I could feel the phone watching us from inside the cabinet. A silent witness. "Open it." She sat down reluctantly, her fingers hovering over the bag. For a second, she looked almost afraid of it. Then she took a deep breath and reached inside. Her hand brushed the fabric, and her forehead creased. When she pulled the onesie out and saw the words, "Hi, Mommy," the world seemed to slow down. Her eyes widened, her mouth parted, and for a split second, there was something raw and naked in her expression. Hope, terror, disbelief, all tangled together. "What is this?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. My rehearsed line caught in my throat, suddenly sounding cheap in my head. I forced it out anyway. "You're pregnant, Leah. I mean, we're pregnant." I gestured toward the counter, where I'd placed the 2 new tests in their boxes. "I got more tests, just to be sure. But the first one was positive, right? And you're late. So, you thought you'd make a show out of it?" She cut in, her voice sharp as broken glass. The question blindsided me. "I just wanted to make it special," I protested. "This is a big deal. I wanted you to remember this moment as something good, not terrifying." Her gaze flicked around the room, and I saw the exact second she spotted the phone lens peeking through the cabinet crack. Her whole body went still. "Are you filming this?" she asked, her voice dangerously calm. My stomach dropped. "Just for us," I said quickly. "I thought we'd want to look back on it someday." "You thought you'd want to look back on it," she corrected. She set the onesie down with deliberate care, like it was a fragile bomb. Her eyes were shiny now, but not in the way I'd imagined. There was no happy gasp, no joyful tears, no rush into my arms. There was anger, hurt. "Leah, I'm sorry," I said, stepping closer. "You didn't mean what?" she snapped, finally letting the mask slip. "You didn't mean to ambush me with my own body? You didn't mean to turn the scariest thing that's ever happened to me into a surprise party? You didn't mean to record my reaction without telling me?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. I hadn't prepared for this version of the scene. In my head, she cried and hugged me and said something like, "I'm scared, but I'm happy." In my head, I was the comforting hero, not the villain. Her hands were shaking now. "How long have you been thinking about this?" she demanded. "How long have you been planning this little moment? How long? How long?" "I bought the onesie yesterday," I said weakly. "That's not what I'm asking," she said. Her voice cracked. "How long have you been wanting this? Really wanting this? Because I feel like I missed the moment where this stopped being a maybe someday and started being your secret obsession." The word obsession hit like a slap. "I've always been honest that I wanted kids," I argued, my own defensiveness rising. "We talked about it." "What I knew," she interrupted, "was that you said you were okay either way. That you would rather have me than some hypothetical child. What I didn't know was that you were quietly keeping score. That every time I forgot a pill, or we waited to refill my prescription, or we slipped up, you were secretly hoping for this." "No." Her eyes searched my face, and I felt naked under her stare. Did you do something? She asked suddenly, her voice barely above a whisper. Did you mess with my pills? The condoms? Anything? The accusation hit me so hard I physically stepped back. No, I said immediately, shaking my head. God, no. I would never. I swear. I didn't tamper with anything. I trailed off. The end of that sentence was a cliff. I wasn't sure I could step off. You just what? She pressed. I just stopped being as careful as I should have been, I admitted, my voice low. I stopped reminding you if you said you were tired and would take your pill later. I stopped double-checking. I told myself it was up to the universe, that if it happened, it happened. Her face crumpled. So you gambled with my life, she whispered. With my body. With my future. It's our future. I protested, but even as I said it, the words tasted wrong. Don't you dare, she snapped, standing up so fast the chair scraped against the floor. Don't you dare tell me this is ours when you've clearly been ahead of me in this decision for months. You took the risk and only told me after it paid off for you. I felt something inside me crack. It's not like that, I said, hearing the plea in my own voice. I was scared too. I still am. But I love you. I love us. I thought if you could see it, if you could see how happy we could be. Happy? She laughed, a harsh, broken sound. Do I look happy right now? She picked up the onesie and stared at it again. For a brief second, something soft passed over her face, some instinctive tenderness even she couldn't fully suppress. Then she blinked it away, setting it back down like it burned. I need to sit down, she murmured, sinking back into the chair. I feel sick. I pulled out the chair across from her and sat too, the table between us suddenly enormous. The candles flickered uselessly, their warm light making the whole scene feel like a twisted parody of a romantic dinner. Just talk to me, I said. Please. Tell me what you're thinking. No filters. She was quiet for a long time, staring at a wax drip on the table. When she finally spoke, her voice was flat. I'm thinking that I don't recognize you right now, she said. I'm thinking that you took the one thing I have left from my childhood, that feeling of not having control, and you recreated it for me, as an adult. Her words hit harder than any insult. You know my mom left, she continued. You know my dad made decisions without telling us, without asking us, like we were just props in his life. Schools, moves, boyfriends. We just had to react to whatever happened. No input, no consent, and now here I am, sitting in front of a camera I didn't consent to, holding a onesie I didn't ask for, dealing with a pregnancy I explicitly said I didn't want. Tears spilled over now, running silently down her cheeks. Do you have any idea how trapped I feel right now? She whispered. My own eyes burned. I didn't mean to trap you, I said. I thought maybe you were more scared than sure, and if I could help you see. Stop trying to make this sound noble, she said sharply. You wanted something. You were willing to bend reality around it. And now, here we are. The silence that followed was thick, suffocating. The only sound was the faint hum of the fridge. Okay, I said finally, forcing myself to breathe. So what do you want to do? She looked at me like I'd just asked her to solve an impossible equation. I don't know, she said honestly. I don't know anything right now. I just found out my life might be changing forever. And instead of being allowed to sit with that quietly, I was handed a script. That last word sliced through me. Script. I'll delete the video, I said quickly. Right now. You can watch me do it. Ariwen. I don't care about the video, she lied. But her eyes flicked toward the cabinet anyway. Okay, I care. But it's not the main thing. The main thing is that you did all of this without giving me a chance to react honestly. You tried to curate my emotions. I swallowed hard. I'm sorry, I said, for what felt like the 100th time. I am so sorry. Sorry doesn't unpregnant me, she replied quietly. The air left my lungs. We sat there, two people who loved each other, staring across a table now occupied by a onesie, two unopened pregnancy tests, and years of unspoken expectations. Can I tell you something? She said after a while, her voice so soft I almost missed it. Anything, I said. She took a shaky breath. This isn't the first time I've been pregnant. The world tilted. What? She wouldn't look at me. Before you. When I was 21. I was with someone older. Someone who said all the right things and did all the wrong ones. I got pregnant. I didn't tell anyone. Not him, not my family, not my friends. I went to a clinic alone and I ended it. My heart twisted. Leah, she held up a hand, cutting me off. I'm not telling you this for pity. I'm telling you because back then, all I wanted was someone to sit with me and say, this is your body, your decision. And whatever you choose, I'm here. Instead, I got silence. I got a secret that ate me alive for years. I promised myself that if this ever happened again, I would do it differently. That I'd make a choice carefully. Not out of fear, not out of pressure. She finally met my eyes. And then, I met you. And I thought, if anyone could make this feel safe, it'd be you. But right now, I feel more cornered than I did back then. Because at least then, nobody was smiling at me, asking me to be happy about it. Her words sat between us, heavy and undeniable. I wanted to say the right thing. I wanted to say, whatever you decide, I'll support you. And mean it, unconditionally. But there was a baby now. Not just cells on a strip, but a future I'd already painted in my head thousands of times. There was the sound of a laugh I'd imagined. The sight of tiny fingers curled around mine. There was the version of me I wanted to become. Not just Daniel, the guy who wanted a family, but Daniel, the father. What if? I started cautiously. What if we don't decide anything tonight? What if we go to a doctor? Confirm it. Get information. Talk to someone who isn't me. Or your past. What if we give ourselves a little time? Her shoulders sagged in relief and tension all at once. Okay, I said, nodding. We'll call tomorrow. Together. She echoed, though the words sounded fragile. We cleaned up the table in silence. I untaped the phone from the cabinet and deleted the video in front of her. My finger hovering for a second over the, "Are you sure?" prompt before hitting yes. It felt symbolic, erasing the version of reality I'd tried to engineer. We went to bed without touching much that night. We lay side by side, a few inches of mattress between us that felt like miles. At some point, I heard her quietly crying into her pillow. I wanted to reach out, to pull her close, to say something that would make this less terrifying. Instead, I stared at the ceiling, feeling the weight of what I'd done pressing down on my chest. In the days that followed, everything became an emotional seesaw. The doctor confirmed the pregnancy. About 6 weeks along, we sat in the exam room, staring at the grainy black and white image on the screen, like it was an alien. The doctor pointed at a tiny flicker. "That's the heartbeat," she said gently. Something inside me broke open. That flicker was my future. Our future. All wrapped into something impossibly small. I glanced at Leah, expecting to see the same awestruck expression I felt stretching my own face. Instead, I saw a war raging behind her eyes. 1 second, she looked captivated. The next, she looked like she might bolt out of the room. On the drive home, she was quiet. "What are you thinking?" I finally asked, my hands gripping the steering wheel too tightly. "I'm thinking that there's a living thing inside me," she said slowly. "And that I'm not sure if I'm its mother or its hostage." The words stung. But I understood the honesty behind them. We talked then. Really talked. We went over finances, our tiny apartment, our jobs, our families. We argued. We cried. We revisited all the old wounds, her mother leaving, my parents' quiet resentment, our fight months back about being cast into roles we hadn't agreed to. At one point, she asked, "If I decide I can't do this, will you hate me?" I swallowed hard, thinking of that tiny flicker. "And if I decide to keep it," she asked, "will you resent me every time things get hard?" "Never," I said immediately, because that part I knew was true. Hard was what I'd been asking for, in a way. Messy, real, complicated life. The decision didn't come quickly. It came in waves, in late-night conversations, in quiet mornings where she rested a hand on her stomach when she thought I wasn't looking. It came in the way she looked at babies in the grocery store now, less like a spectator and more like someone standing at a window, unsure whether to knock. One night, about 2 weeks later, she crawled into bed and lay on her back, staring at the ceiling. "I've been making a list," she said. "Of what? Reasons to keep it? Reasons not to." She exhaled slowly. "The list keeps changing." 1. I turned on my side to face her. "Do you want to read it to me?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Reasons not to," she started, her voice soft. "I'm scared. I don't trust myself. I like my freedom. I don't want to mess up another human the way I feel like I was messed up." She paused. "Reasons to, I don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering what this person would have been like. I don't want to carry another secret like the one from when I was 21. And," she glanced at me, "I see the way you look at me now, like I'm holding the sun, and you're afraid I'll drop it." I hadn't realized it was that obvious. "I hate that you pushed this," she admitted quietly. "I hate that you messed with the balance like that. But I don't know. I keep thinking about that heartbeat. And the fact that for the first time in my life, I could be the one to stay instead of the one left behind. My throat tightened. What are you saying? I'm saying, she said, taking my hand and placing it gently on her stomach, that I think I want to try. I think I want to keep it. But I need you to understand something. Her eyes locked onto mine, clear and fierce. I'm choosing this. Not your surprise. Not your script. Not the universe. Me. If I do this, it's because I decide to. And if at any point you make me feel like I'm just a supporting actress in your fantasy again, I'm gone. Baby or no baby. I nodded, tears stinging my eyes. You're not the supporting actress, I said hoarsely. You're the whole damn story. I'm the one who tried to rewrite you. I won't do it again. We lay there with my hand on her stomach. Both of us silent, feeling the weight of the choice settle between us. It didn't feel like fireworks or violins. It felt like standing in a storm together, soaked and shivering, but refusing to run in opposite directions. Weeks passed. The nausea eased a bit. She started eating crackers in bed and complaining about smells. I went to appointments with her, carrying the prenatal vitamins in my pocket like a talisman. We argued about names and strollers and whether we should move to a bigger place. We fought still. Oh, we fought. But there was a new thread woven into the fabric of us now, a third presence that made every decision feel both heavier and more meaningful. One evening, she sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone. I was in the kitchen cleaning up, and I heard her let out a short laugh. What? I asked. She turned the screen toward me. It was a video compilation of pregnancy announcements, people screaming, dropping to their knees, sobbing, hugging, kids holding signs that said, Big Brother, or Big Sister. Look at this, she said. The way people perform happiness. Like the bigger the reaction, the more real it is. I watched a woman shove a positive test into her boyfriend's face while he shrieked and fell backward. The comments were full of heart emojis, and, this is everything. Do you wish we had one like that? She asked suddenly. Like, the moment you tried to manufacture, I thought about the onesie in the drawer. Folded away now. About the deleted video. About her face. When she realized I'd been recording. No, I said honestly. I wish the first moment had been quieter. Just you and me. No props. No camera. I wish I'd given you space. Instead of a script. She studied my face for a second, then nodded, satisfied. Good, she said. Because I've been thinking. Maybe we can make a different kind of memory instead. She reached for my hand, placed it once again on her stomach, which was still mostly flat, but somehow already felt like the center of the universe. This is the real announcement, she said softly. Just us. Right now. No candles, no surprises, no audience. Just two idiots who messed up and are trying to do better. I laughed. The sound wet with unshed tears. Not exactly Instagrammable. I joked weakly. Maybe not, she said. But maybe that's the point. We never refilmed a surprise reaction. We never recreated the moment. Instead, we took small, unremarkable videos. Her complaining about her jeans not buttoning. Me assembling a crib. While swearing under my breath. Us arguing over paint colors for a nursery we weren't even sure we'd finish in time. Little pieces of reality. Nothing viral. Everything ours. Still, the guilt didn't disappear. It just changed shape. Sometimes, when she was asleep beside me, one hand resting unconsciously on her growing bump, I'd stare at the ceiling and replay that night with the onesie and the hidden camera. I'd think about how close I'd come to losing her trust completely. I'd wonder if I deserved the second chance she was giving me. When I suggested making this confession anonymously telling the truth somewhere, to someone, so it wouldn't rot inside me, she surprised me by not immediately shooting it down. Where? She asked. I don't know, I said. Online. Maybe. A story. A confession. Something. I need to say it out loud to people who aren't just you. To admit, I crossed a line. She thought about it, then shrugged. As long as my name isn't on it, and our kid isn't identifiable. I don't care, she said. Maybe someone will hear it, and not do what you did, or they'll judge me. I muttered. You probably deserve some of that, she said, not unkindly. But maybe you also deserve to forgive yourself at some point. Just not yet. So here I am, telling you the truth. I tried to bury under candles and cute onesies, and the idea of a perfect moment. I tricked my girlfriend into a pregnancy surprise. But the real surprise was realizing how dangerous it is to treat someone's life-altering news like a scene you can choreograph for maximum emotional impact. I still don't know how this story ends. Our baby isn't here yet. We're We're still arguing about names and finances and how we're going to survive on limited sleep. There are days when Leah looks at me with something like trust in her eyes, and days when I catch a flicker of doubt there too. I don't blame her. I earned that doubt. What I do know is this. There's a thin, fragile line between love and control, between creating memories and manipulating moments. I crossed it. I'm trying, piece by messy piece, to step back over it. One day, years from now, a small human might ask us how they came into the world. I don't know how much of this we'll tell them. Maybe we'll say, "You were a surprise," and leave out the darker parts. Maybe we'll be braver and admit that we were flawed and scared, and that sometimes love doesn't look like a cinematic reaction caught on camera. It looks like two people sitting at a kitchen table, terrified and honest, choosing each other anyway. Until then, all I can do is ask myself and you one question that won't stop echoing in my head. If someone you loved crossed a line like I did, tried to script your reaction to the biggest news of your life, would you forgive them? Or would you walk away? What would you have done in her place? Would you have stayed, tried to rebuild trust, or decided that some kinds of betrayal are too deep to come back from? Tell me in the comments what you think, and if you want to hear more confessions like this, subscribe to Secret Flame Stories and wait for the next secret that someone is finally brave enough to confess.